Okay, so I think that's recording now. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. Uh, and welcome to our TBYL6 Teaching English to Young Learners live TESOL event. My name is Isra Fatih Mohammed, and I'm a coordinator of Teaching English to Young Learners, my TESOL, and I'm truly delighted to be your moderator for today's inspiring session, Designing for a Thinking Language Use Practical Tasks for AI Learner and Learner-Learner Interaction. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome Professor Linh, Director of English Language Program at Chevan University and an English language specialist with the U.S. Department of State. And Professor Linh, we are truly grateful for your time and generosity in joining us today. We especially appreciate the time difference and your commitment to being with us today. While it's 7 p.m. in Cairo, it's already 11 p.m. in Vietnam. So we are genuinely appreciate you spending your late evening with our community today. Today's session is particularly relevant as we continue exploring how can we create meaningful opportunities for authentic communication through the task-based language teaching, peer collaboration, and AI support interaction. We are very excited to learn from Professor Ling's expertise and practical insights. And I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to Dr. Wala Salim, the LTSEG coordinator, for her continued support and dedication to our TEYL-SEG community, and especially for helping make this event possible and providing the Zoom link for today's session. Thank you very much, Dr. Wala. And I'd like to send my heartfelt thank you to everyone who has joined us today. Your presence and encouragement are what make these professional learning spaces truly meaningful. We are delighted to have you with us, and we hope you leave today with practical ideas that you can take directly into your classroom. And I kindly encourage everyone to stay engaged and participate in the activities and share your questions, reflections in the chat box. Professor Lam, the floor is yours, but before stating that, I would like to state the community or the NITESOL community. We have Dr. Nar Shafagi, the NITESOL president, and Dr. Magid Habashi, the AUC School of Continuing Education specialist. And we have here our chair, Dr. Amir Arfan. And NITESOL is the biggest nonprofit professional association in Cairo and in Egypt. We have to involve all teachers with some development resources regarding teaching English and teaching content in English in Egypt and globally. You can scan this QR code if you'd like to be a NITESOL member so that you can come up with the relevant and up-to-date news regarding the NITESOL. And here we have the TEYL-SEG QR code. You can stay tuned to this some resources and some virtual events and some in-person events also in Egypt. Here I'd like to welcome Professor Limpang again, and I'd like to introduce her to you. Dr. Limpang is the founder of Eduling, and this is an application and technology platform that offers English and teacher development courses, as well as content creation tools for the development of communicative tasks and games. As a researcher, she has papers published in high-impact journals, including language teaching, research, and studies in second language acquisition. Her professional experience also involves working as a director of English language program at Chevan University for living for 12 years and serving as an English language specialist with the U.S. Department of State. As an author, she has published several language learning and children books. Wow. So let's welcome Professor Ling Chen for our wonderful session today. So the board is yours, and the floor is yours too, Professor Ling Fan. So please, yes, join me and welcome Professor Ling Fan with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I am currently in Vietnam with my family. I'm originally from Vietnam. I'm here with my daughter so that she can spend more time with my family. So it's late here and it's quite hot, and I see that it started to rain here. So if anything happens, I apologize in advance, and I'm happy to deliver this presentation again to you. It's nice to be connected with you today, and I have given a few presentations to teachers from Egypt and Bangladesh as well. So I'm just curious whether you have maybe seen me online or have attended any of the presentations that I have delivered. So if the answer is yes or no, you can put in the chat just as a hello to me. But let me start sharing my screen
Sure.
also. Do you hear the rain? It's very
Yeah.
loud, but um, I'm gonna put it in the presentation mode. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Sure.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, yes. It's free.
Okay. Yeah. Um, move on to ask you a few questions. And if you can put any ideas in the chat, I would appreciate learning more about you. You can maybe put information in terms of where you are and what you teach. And maybe here the next question, how would you describe an ideal language classroom or lesson if you can imagine or if you have experienced a really engaging classroom or lesson, what does it look like? And the third question is, what would you like your students or your learners to do more of? So any ideas you want to share in the chat, I would like to see some ideas.
So we are waiting for your ideas
Yeah,
here.
we are lucky to have the rain, a lot of rain here in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions there for you.
Okay, so where are you? So I think that some of them answered this question. So some of them are from Egypt, Senegal, Bangladesh,
Yeah,
Asia. Yes. Would you kindly write what do you teach?
yeah. What do you teach? And maybe give me some adjectives describing an ideal language lesson or classroom. And also, if you would like your students to do more of, then what would you like them to do more of?
I'll start first. I think I like the creativity.
Creativity? So
Yeah,
yeah.
like to be creative. Try to hand on
And
activities.
especially here, you're teaching young learners,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Teaching
you
them
teach English interactive. Okay, so you like that.
interactive. Yeah. So how about the rest of the year?
Yeah. Anything else? Interactive, fun. creative. Egypt is very hot. Okay.
Yes, it's really hot.
Ideal class is when my students participate with me, when I encourage them to speak freely. Yes. So students' participation and engagement. More activities and learn new techniques.
Mhm.
Okay, more speaking. Okay. Speaking definitely is one of my interested areas. I have been teaching speaking and I have been focusing a lot on communication skills. Okay, so you can keep sharing your ideas regarding your ideal classroom or lesson. And I'm gonna jump right into an activity that I would like to do with you today. We are talking about having students or developing practical activities and tasks for students to do. And although I haven't explained the concept of authenticity or authentic language use, I just want you to look at the 5 different activities that I came up with. And then you can give a ranking from the least to the most authentic. So here, let's look at the screen here, and I hope you can see it well. A, you have acting out a pre-written dialogue to order ice cream, where choices are limited to substituting items on the menu. So that's activity A. Imagine students see a menu, right, with different types of ice cream, and they they are going to act out a dialogue that is already written, and then they will just put different types of ice cream in the dialogue. So that's A. B, looking at a picture of someone running and changing the sentence. He walks to school into he is running to school. C, testing a specific feature of a language learning app like Eduling. That's the app that I have been developing, or Elico is another one that I'm involved with. And writing a joint feedback note detailing what works and what needs improvement. D, moving around the room to find classmates who fit certain descriptions, restricted to using a specific structure. Have you ever been abroad, or have you ever flown an airplane, right? And then E, group collaboration to select only 3 games from a list of 9 for a class party. So if you need to rank this from the least authentic to the most authentic, what would be the order? So I would like you to think about it and put the order in the chat. Yeah, yes, you can take screenshots.
Yes, you can take
And
screenshots. Yes.
yeah, and then later on, of course, the idea is for you, the goal is for you to think of more ideas to create interesting activities for your classroom. So I'm not saying that these are ideal activities, right? But I would like you to think about ranking them from the least to the most authentic. And no right or wrong answers at this point. It's just a starting point for us to discuss some ideas.
So we are waiting for your ideas. And how can you use it in your classroom? So would you kindly put them in order?
So let me maybe define authenticity a little bit. And the title of my presentation is Designing for Authentic Language Use. So perhaps authentic language use here means that students use language for communication, right? For expressing ideas.
So
So
Najwa,
someone, Okay,
Yes,
you
yes,
put
it's
E
EDBCA.
D B C A. Okay. So from the least authentic, right? We use language to communicate ideas. We use language to achieve communicative goals. Like for now, I am talking to you, so I want to express ideas. So that's authentic language use. But if we just do an exercise, then maybe that is not authentic language use. So someone gives an answer there. I would like to see at least one more answer. You're not sure.
Hello, I'm sorry.
That's why we are here,
Where
maybe
where's the
talking and
chat?
discussing some ideas.
Where's the chat? I can't find it. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yes, so where is that like chat? And I can see like the exercise. I just heard you, and I would like to like participate, but I can't find the chat. Maybe there is like a
Oh,
WhatsApp group. I joined
no,
it a
the
bit late.
chat on Zoom. You can type it in the Zoom chat.
Oh, I can't find it. Okay, I'm trying to search. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to type another answer there? B, okay, is the least authentic. I agree. B is the least authentic. If students are just asked to change the verb from the present simple tense to the present continuous tense here, then it is purely a language exercise, right? At least there's a picture, so there's some meaning there. But I would agree that B is the least authentic. That is purely a language exercise, right? And then the next one that is to me also not very authentic is A. And someone thinks that A is the least authentic. That may, yeah, that can also be true, because if students just read aloud a dialogue that has already written for them, and all they have to do is to put in some words in the blanks, right? That is also a language exercise. They are not really using language to communicate. So A and B are not very authentic here. Now, when you have D, it is a little bit more interesting. Now they ask questions to find out experiences from other students, but the sentence structure is restricted, right? And so I could say that D is kind of in the middle. And when you have E, students now have to work with each other. They have 9 different games that they want to choose for a class party. And then they have to talk with each other to choose 3. Now it is the conversation can be more authentic. They are using language to make a decision and to do something together. And so I can say that E is more authentic. And C perhaps is the most authentic in the sense that it feels like a real life task, and it is quite open-ended. In real life, you may be asked to look at an app, and then you may need to write a report, right? Or you may even find bugs, right? Bugs is another thing that we talk about a lot in technology development. So my answer here is B, A, D, E, C, from the least authentic to the most authentic. And today we are talking about designing activities that encourage students to use language more authentically. Yeah. So the question is, how can I identify authenticity? And I will walk you through, and hopefully at the end, you will have more ideas to develop tasks that allow students to use language more authentically. So I would like for us to try this activity, and because I know we are now a group that focuses on teaching young learners. So I'm picking something pretty simple, right, that may appeal to young learners. So I am going to describe a picture, And then as you listen, you need to tell me what picture I am describing, right? And in the classroom, actually, I should just have one picture that I'm gonna describe. I should not be able to see the three pictures that you have. But as a presentation, I'm showing you three pictures that you have, and I'm gonna just describe one, and you can tell me which one it is. And if you cannot tell me which one it is, you can ask me to tell you more, right? So I have a picture of a bear. It is very cute. It has black eyes, and it is raising its hands, I would say, or its paws up. Now this bear is leaning to the left with one hand raised higher than the other. And it is also lifting one leg. So based on my description, which one am I describing? Yeah. Okay, C. Yeah. So it kind of maybe it's C, maybe it's B, but I didn't mention a bow, right? So maybe you can say tell us more, um, and I can keep describing it. But supposedly I should not be able to see the three pictures that you have. So what I'm trying to describe here is picture C. There's no bow on the head. So that is this one is called a one-way task, right? A one-way task is or an input-based task. You just listen to the description, and then you need to identify what picture that is being described, and there's no language production on your part. So that's why it is called an input-based task, or a one-way task, because the information only flows from me to you. And when you listen to me, you have to pay attention to the ideas, to the meaning, and I have to try to use whatever language resources that I have to describe the picture. So now that is one activity. What about this one? If I have another activity when I ask the student to maybe match the word, move the word to the picture so that the word describes the parts of the bear, right? Or the picture. So if I ask the student to move the word hand to the right spot, then students may be able to do that, or the word bow to the right spot on the picture, then students may be able to do that too, or leg to the picture. So in this activity, you can see that it is mostly a language exercise, right? And for the student, it is about learning vocabulary, matching words with the picture. And now what about this? Perhaps this is also common, and I am now in Vietnam, and I see that my nephew here, who is 8 years old, who has to do some kind of exercise or activity like this, he has to write down the plural form of different nouns, right? So in this picture, you are seeing two hands or whatever. So you're gonna write the plural form here, hands, and then you're gonna write the plural form for the word bow, bows, and then you have leg, and then you have to write the plural form for legs. So again, this is purely a language exercise, right? Without any kind of authentic need to use the language. And you can see the difference between the first activity when you really have to listen for meaning, and these activities when you just kind of study language explicitly. Okay, so what do you think? What do you feel? What activities are more common in your classroom? The first one, when someone has to describe pictures or a picture, and the other one has to identify the right picture, or the other activities when you either match words with picture or you need to learn grammar. Okay, both of them, both types of activities. Okay, so my argument is that it is more beneficial for students to learn language in context because you can also notice among your young learners when you teach the plural form, it doesn't mean that when the students can do the exercise and then they can use the plural forms in context. So why don't we provide more meaningful context and more meaningful language in use to students, and then they can pick up the language and use them more authentically. Because I guarantee you, no matter how much time you spend on explaining the plural form or asking students to do exercises, when they have to use language in context, what they know explicitly does not translate into the ability to use language. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to, oh, sorry, it is moving backward. Okay, so here, I don't know if you know Professor Rod Ellis. He's one of the people call him the father of second language acquisition because he has written this big book about second language acquisition, how people actually acquire a language and use it for communicative purposes. And this is my statement. The big headline at the beginning is my statement, but children do not need explicit instruction to learn a new language. And you can agree or disagree. Do you agree with this statement or not? So explicit instruction here is when you teach them maybe a grammatical rule, or you teach them the rule of the plural form, and then you ask them to practice, and maybe a little bit they can practice using the form a little bit later on. So my argument is that especially for young children, they do not need explicit instruction, or they do not rely on explicit knowledge in order to acquire a new language. Now, on the other hand, Professor Rod Ellis here also says something like, if in the classroom you spend so much time doing explicit instruction, like the grammar exercise that I showed you, and explaining the rules, then students don't really develop their communicative ability. So in an interview that I had with him, he had this statement: if you don't engage in these implicit learning processes, you will never develop any meaningful communicative ability in a language. So if all that we do is practicing rules, doing mechanical exercises, this is not implicit learning. So without implicit learning, children will never develop any meaningful communicative ability. So I want to share that with you from the perspective of an expert. Moving on. So now, task-based language teaching gives you a framework to develop activities so that we can develop students' true communicative competence. So I want to ask you whether you have heard of task-based language teaching before, and you can put it in the chat. Task-based language teaching offers you a framework to develop activities that ultimately develop students' communicative competence. And the approach here is called task-based language teaching. It's talked about a lot. It has been the most researched approach among the different communicative approaches that we have heard of recently. So I'm giving you a very simple definition. Here, task-based language teaching develops communicative competence through the performance of tasks. So students perform tasks, and by doing that, they develop their communicative competence. It's not by learning discrete grammatical items or list of vocabulary items. It's about It's the performance of tasks is the mechanism that helps students to develop their communicative competence. So now you may ask me, what is a task, right? In the classroom, you have a lot of language learning activities. Some of them may be exercises like fill in the blanks, but that's why we need the definition of a task. A task is an activity in which, I'm sorry, I have to hide to see here. I cannot see very well. A task is an activity in which a person engages to attain an objective which requires the comprehension and or production of meaningful messages. So the definition here is very simple. A communicative task is when you have to express your ideas or when you have to comprehend other people's ideas, right? It is not about practicing a language form, but it is about communicating ideas and content. Like me, what I'm doing now is I'm trying to communicate ideas, and you're listening to me for ideas. So that is a communicative task. Okay. Yes, okay. We can talk about whether it is suitable or not. I do understand a lot of challenges in implementing tasks. So now, if you're interested in developing tasks for the classroom so that your students can use or can speak English more, can use language for communicative purposes, then I find these criteria very useful for us to turn activities into tasks, communicative tasks. And Professor Rod Ellis has these 4 criteria, and you can look at the acronym here, but I can explain more. The first criterion is that learners have to focus on meaning primarily. When they complete an activity, they need to focus on meaning, not on language forms, right? Not just not on memorizing forms or rehearsing forms or practicing forms. There should be a communicative gap, for example, an information gap or an opinion gap. For right now, when I'm communicating with you, there's an information gap, right? Maybe there's some information that I know that you don't know or that you are interested in. Or if we get into a debate, then there may be an opinion gap. I have a different opinion, you have a different opinion, and that gives us a reason to communicate with each other. The third criterion is that learners need to use their own linguistic resources. So this is very different from the exercise when they have to write the plural form. They're not using their own linguistic resources. Or if they read aloud a dialogue with just using the words provided to them, then they are not using their own linguistic resources. But if they have to describe a picture the way I just had to do it with you, then I had to use my own linguistic resources to express my ideas. And then there should be some kind of non-linguistic outcomes. We communicate with each other, we use language because we want to achieve an outcome, right? It's not just about practicing language. So these criteria have been very useful for me to create activities for the classroom so that they are tasks and so that they provide authentic conditions for language use. And I mentioned, or Ezra mentioned my app, Eduling. I have developed thousands of tasks, and these criteria are really useful. I have language learning books, Spanish learning games, Vietnamese learning games, English learning activities. And these criteria have been very useful for me to create activities for these language learning books. So let me give you now. I already received a pushback saying that it is not suitable for the Egyptian curriculum. But I want to convince you a little bit more theoretically. Why are we using tasks, right? So the theoretical reason is that when you use language in a more authentic situation or an under more authentic conditions, then the chance of transferring that language skill or knowledge and skills to real life situations is higher. Say if I have to describe a picture so that you can identify it, then it is a little bit closer to the real life conditions under which I have to use language, right? Then the chance of transferring what I do in the classroom to real life is higher. The second reason is that task-based language teaching caters to learners' built-in syllabus. What does it mean? You may see this over and over again, that what you teach in the classroom is not what is learned. You may spend weeks and weeks teaching the present simple tense, yet students still make errors and mistakes. You may spend years teaching students the plural forms, and I have seen this. Students still make a lot of errors. This is because when we teach rules explicitly, it is not how the brain acquires language. So when you use tasks, we cater to more to the students when they are ready to receive the language forms. Now, also the third reason is that in task-based language teaching, there is a lot of focus on form. Actually, we use tasks, but we still pay attention to language. But we do it when the students' need arises. And I can give you more examples as we move on. Now, empirically, what it means is that according to research, a task-based language teaching is way better than the traditional approach of present, practice, produce, if you focus on communicative outcomes. So say when you use task-based language teaching, then your students' communicative outcomes are way better than when you use present, practice, produce. So it's more effective in developing students' communicative competence. Okay, so moving on, going back to the idea of authentic language use, I developed this scale a few years ago when I presented to teachers through the US Department of State. So if you care about authentic language use because you want to offer students more opportunities to use language that way, then the most authentic here is when the student has to perform the target task, right? If they have to go to a restaurant to order food, right? If they have to book an airplane ticket, that is an authentic task. So that's the most authentic. Then you have students describe picture so that the listener can identify it among the three pictures, the one that we just did together. That is also more authentic because I have to use my own linguistic resources to do it. And you really have to listen to identify the picture. Now, the middle is when I know that role plays are very common in the classroom. But if students only do role plays by reading aloud sentences, then it's not really students using their own linguistic resources. It's not as authentic. And then you have, on the other end of the scale, you have fill in the blanks, or you have listen and repeat after just a word or a sentence, then those are exercises that are not very authentic. Okay, so let's experience some tasks together. And I would like you to try this with my app, or I can show it on my screen. And these will give you ideas for your classroom as well. So here, this is a task with AI, and we are talking a little bit about AI, and I think that AI chatbots do provide students with a lot of opportunities to practice speaking that feels a little bit more authentic, right? Because the AI responds, it asks questions, but it is also really important to give students a task to do. Don't just tell them go and talk to AI. They may not know what to do. Or if you tell them go and ask questions to AI, they may also don't know what is the goal of doing that? What is the task here? So what I often do is that I design tasks and then I ask students to do those tasks with AI. And without talking much more, I would like you to try this and we can try this together and then you can give me your impressions. Now, for this task, the AI has a secret animal. And then you have to ask yes or no questions to find out what the animal is, right? And you can try making some mistakes to see what the AI does. And this is a task on the Eduling app. It's free for you to access the task, not the whole app. But I would like you to try it and then we'll see what your experience is. So scan the QR code, download the app, talk to the AI, make some mistakes to see what it does to you, and then see if you can use it in your classroom. And then I will talk a little bit about focus on form, right? How you can develop language or how you can push language development through a series of tasks like this. So I'll give you 5 minutes because when you talk with the AI, it's gonna listen to you. So if I say something, it's gonna pick up what I say. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to try the task. And after you're done, if you can just type done in the chat, then I know. Oh, you cannot access the QR code. You use your phone.
Would you kindly just send the link?
Yeah, I can send a link, but
I'm trying to do so.
yeah, the app only has a mobile version recently. Well, I mean currently. So if I send you a link, you need to click on it.
Yes, I'm
on
trying to
Phung.
get the link and send it that.
Yeah, you can try it for a few minutes, and if it doesn't work, I will try it and on the screen, and you will see me talking with the
Sure.
AI.
Sure.
Oh, already done.
I got the link that was in the chat box. So here's the link in the chat box.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the link. You got the link. Yes, I encourage you to try it. It's quite fun, and actually, I'm learning Spanish with it now. We have other languages. Um, they haven't been launched yet. They will come out soon. So I am learning Spanish with this, and my daughter is trying Vietnamese with this. And this is how I want to learn. I don't want to learn by memorizing vocabulary. I don't want to learn by memorizing grammatical rules. No use to me. Even though I'm a language teacher and an applied linguist, I know rules, I love grammar, but that this is how I want to learn. Of course, when you try it, because you are an English language teacher, that it is too easy for you, right? It's not a challenge. But think about trying this in a different language. You can see what the challenge is and how you are pushed in terms of language use. Um, so I'm gonna, we are also developing a web version. So I'm gonna also try this on the, no, maybe the next task. So I'm gonna try this, show you the next task. This is also, maybe I will analyze this a little bit. So for this task, it's the idea is very simple. Ask yes or no questions to find out the secret animal, right? And the AI has the secret animal. The learner has to ask questions. So you can see that there's a gap there, the information gap there. And then when the learner has to ask questions, they have to use their own linguistic resources. And I mean, I have asked my nephew here to try this. I asked my daughter to try it in Vietnamese. So they really have to think about the questions they need to ask. Is it big? Is it a predator? If they make a mistake, like it run fast, the AI is gonna correct you. The AI here is gonna say, does it run fast? Or do you wanna say, does it run fast? And that is focused on form. And I can illustrate more with the next task. There's the communicative outcome. There's an outcome here. You guess the animal and you win, right? And if you cannot guess the animal after 10 turns, then you lose. So that's the communicative outcome. And so it meets the four criterion of a task, and it gives learner a challenge of some kind. So I find it more interesting than just say doing a role play by reading out a dialogue. Now, with the next one, you can scan the QR code to try it, or you can watch me trying it. When I designed this task, my goal actually is a language goal. Not a language goal, but when I designed this task, I want to provide a reason for learners to use contrastive stress. This is in pronunciation. There's a concept in pronunciation in English, contrastive stress. When you want to emphasize information because you want to correct the information, you use contrast. For example, if Ezra, you say, so you are from China. And then I say, no, I'm not from China. I'm from Vietnam, right? So I would emphasize China and Vietnam. And this is when I use contrastive stress. It's really useful for communication. And it helps students to realize a language feature that maybe is a little bit obscure here. So for this task, I give the AI a picture, right? And then I give the AI a few sentences about the picture, but the sentences have incorrect information. So I have to correct the AI. And that gives me the reason to use contrastive stress, right? And maybe you do this because you already introduced the concept to students, so now you want them to practice. You can practice, but I'm gonna show this to you on the web. We are also developing a web version. So I'm gonna exit this. I'm gonna go to the web. Okay, do you see a different screen now? And see here on the web, I hope that my developer has it up for me because we haven't launched this yet. But it's similar to the phone. It's just that it's, oh, sorry. Is that, yeah, okay. Okay, I hope that it's on.
We are going to practice describing an office environment.
Would you kindly just
I
share
have an
the,
image of a desk with
yeah,
various
because
items,
the
and
platform
all
is
of
not
these
sharing
will
with
push
us.
out what is
We have only the PPT.
correct me if my
Is
information
wrong. Please take a moment to look at the image and observe the desk, the equipment, and the items on it. Let me know when you are ready to begin.
Okay, could you hear it?
Yeah, we heard it, but we couldn't see it.
Oh, you cannot see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing. I'm gonna share the screen. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, okay. So the AI asked whether I'm ready for this task, and I'm gonna turn this on and say, yes, I'm ready.
To start, do you see a pink folder under the desk?
I don't see a pink folder under the desk. I see it on desk.
In English, it's I see it on the desk. Moving on, do you see a printer on the right side of the picture?
Okay, so you can see that when I spoke, I made a mistake. I did it on purpose. I said I see it on desk. And now it corrects me by saying I see it on the desk, right? And this is the part focus on form in task-based language teaching that I was talking about. And this is when students may pay attention and they may be able to start acquiring the form. I see a printer on the left side of the picture.
You see the printer on the left side?
Yes, I see a printer on the left side.
That is correct. Is there a black notebook next to the computer on the left?
There is a yellow notebook, not a black notebook.
A yellow notebook, you mean?
Yes, I mean a yellow notebook.
Understood. Finally, are all of the computers Mac computers from Apple?
Not all computer is Mac computer. I see a PC.
Not all computers are Macs, you mean?
Okay, so I want to draw your attention to this. This is called a recast, right? So in English, or when we teach and we provide corrective feedback to students, we may do what is called a recast. A recast is when the student makes a mistake and you change the sentence into the correct sentence, but you still use it in a communicative context as if it is a question or just kind of a confirmation check. So this is, again, really small details. And this one is special with Eduling AI. It's not available anywhere. My idea in terms of using task-based language teaching with AI is that you need interesting tasks for students to do, but also the AI needs to be able to give students the kind of corrective feedback that we teachers know how to give, right? Here it's a recast, and sometimes it is explicit correction, and sometimes it is the AI asking you to say something again. And this is when language development happens. And for young children in particular, I think this is what they need. They do not need you to explain the rules. I think in terms of learning about the rules is totally separate from learning to communicate. Learning about the rules is a skill or a kind of a subject at school. that you learn about language so that you have the knowledge about language. But if you still need to develop your students' communicative competence, then they need opportunities to use language like this. And in the classroom, it's totally possible for you to do, right? If you don't want to use AI, if you want to use pictures, then you put students in pairs. One student has some incorrect sentences about the picture. The other student has to listen and correct the picture. When I did the task in Spanish, I actually liked the task when I had to also the AI gives wrong information about me and I have to correct it. And now I can hear some sentences from the AI and I know how to say yes or no, this is not correct. I'm not from Peru, right? I say these things in Spanish. And this is when, again, this gives opportunities for language development to all. So I'm gonna quit here. I hope you get the idea of using task-based language teaching, even with AI, right? Or you can develop materials for the classroom. So I'm gonna share my screen again. I know that it has already been an hour, but I can give you a few ideas.
It's amazing, actually. I'd
Yeah,
like to
try
learn
it.
more, and
totally-
yes, the recast is really incredible, and it's a perfect way to teach grammar, specifically
Yeah,
to young
yeah.
learners. Yeah.
That's how grammar competence develops. It's not by memorizing the rules. So I want to give you some more ideas. I don't know if you ever heard of the spot the difference game or the spot the difference task.
Yes.
Again, input to students, and if you want to use pictures, this is a picture in one of my children's books. And if you want students to listen first before talking, then you can do this one way. You will be the one providing the information, and the student just has to do something with the picture. So imagine you see this picture, right? You have this picture in your hand or you can see it on the screen, and I have a different picture, and I'm going to describe it to you. Your job is to just circle an area where there is a difference between what you see and what I describe, right? So I may say something like, this is a picture of a mom and a daughter playing the hide and seek game. In the picture, you can see that the mom is standing next to a big tree. She has her hands covering her eyes. Above her is a blue butterfly. I also see a young girl hiding behind some flowers. Above the flower or one flower is a hummingbird. I also see some clouds in the sky. There's a pink cloud and a white cloud, and the pink cloud is just right above the little girl. So something like that. And when you describe pictures, maybe you can use very simple, complex language, right? And by now, have you found out a few differences? Yes. So this is an input-based task, right? And instead of teaching something really mechanical, instead of teaching, say, the word butterfly, um, I mean, by asking students to memorize it and to maybe give them a list of words, then you put the word in context, and then the students get exposure to meaningful language in use. And maybe they hear the word hummingbird, but they don't know what it is. And maybe it's a chance for you to explain, then the idea may stick better. Now, this task, you can also do it two ways. What it means is that the students can work in pairs. One has one this picture, the other has the other picture. They cannot show it to each other, but they have to talk to find out the differences. Then you can see that it gives them a reason to communicate and use their own linguistic resources. Okay, so I'm gonna not sum it up, but I'm gonna give you a framework so that you can think of more ideas, right? Now, the first thing is that you need to remember the 4 criteria of a task. 4 criteria of a task. I don't know if anyone still remembers. If you want to type in the chat, the 4 criteria of a task. And then if you want to think about many different types of tasks for your students to do, then I'm giving you some framework to think about. So if you don't remember, the first criterion is focus on what? Learners have to primarily focus on. If anybody wants to type in the chat. When they do a task, yeah, the acronym is MAGOO. Yeah, so they have to focus on meaning. Learners should primarily focus on meaning or ideas. The second is that there should be a gap, right? A communicative gap to give learners the reason to use language, right? The third one is that they need to use their own linguistic resources. It is not about rehearsing language. And the last one is there should be some outcome, communicative outcome. So if you are thinking of designing tasks for your students, you can think of the different types of gaps. There may be information gap. So a lot of tasks that we just did together have an information gap. So I have some information that you don't have. The picture difference task has an information gap, right? It can be like pictorial information gap in some way. And then there can be an opinion gap. So if you and I are debating about whether TBLT is suitable for the Egyptian context, then there's an opinion gap between us. Then that gives us a reason to also talk with each other. You may have a decision-making task, and I also like decision-making. It gives students a clearer communicative outcome. So say if students have to choose 3 games for a class party, if they have to come up with 3 dishes for a party, if they have to decide which city to go to for their vacation, then they have to make a decision together. They have to come to a consensus. So that also, or students may have to rank options, right? Rank the different options. That also makes them have to make a decision. Now, there are also other types of tasks that I call them text construction. So text construction is when students maybe read something, watch something. No, mostly students read something, listen something. They take notes and then they have to work together to reconstruct the text. And for this type of task, then students talk about ideas, they talk about meaning, but they also talk about language. And it can be really useful. An example here is dicto class, and I don't have time to explain it, but I can share the slides if you're interested in clicking on this and reading a few short articles that I have written. Okay. And then this is an example of an information gap task. I'm sure you know jigsaw reading. Students read different parts of an article and then they have to share information and then they have to maybe come to the same understanding. But I also like this twist for this jigsaw task. You can have jigsaw viewing. Students may watch a short video, like a silent movie of the film, and the other half also watch the other half of the film, and then they have to come together and describe the whole short film here. And I think this is a good idea for them to have a reason to communicate with each other. Now, if different kinds of language that students use. So some tasks may be description, like I just described pictures to you, or it can be instruction. I explain a process so that you can follow it, or I give you direction so that you can follow. Other tasks can be narration, meaning telling stories mostly. And then argumentation is when you debate or when you discuss opinions. This is an example of a description and instruction, also a description task. For example, I have a lot on the app. We are not using these tasks at the moment because two students have to talk with each other. So imagine student A has picture A and B, and student B has picture C and D, and they have to, I have to minimize the screen. I cannot see my screen here. They have to talk with each other to describe the process of making tea, but at the end, they have to arrange this into the correct order. So, for example, here, I usually have a two screen, but now I cannot minimize the video to see better here. Okay, sorry, too many things on the screen. Okay, so for example, if I am student A, I may say I have two pictures. In picture A, I see a teapot with some steam coming out. In picture B, I see some tea being added to the pot. In picture C and D, in picture C, the teapot or something like that. So when the students have a problem to solve together like this, then they struggle with language and they use their own linguistic resources to solve the problem. Okay, so moving on, I'm giving you some more ideas. This is also a very important concept. Not all tasks involve speaking and writing or language production. Some tasks can be input based because that's how we pick up new language. We need to have input. So maybe the students can listen to you describing something and then they have to color. Or maybe students listen and draw a route on the map. So mostly they listen and receive input. Maybe they listen and label a picture or a map with names like the one that I'm showing you on the screen.
So there's a target task, and from that target task, you develop your
Okay, so if you are interested in developing a task-based course, this is a bigger task, right? Developing individual tasks is one thing, but developing the whole task-based course, then you need to know how to sequence the tasks together. And an idea here is that this is from a really renowned professor and scholar in task-based language teaching. And her idea is that first you need input-based tasks, and then you need guided output, and then you need free output. And finally, you can perform the target task. For example, if you go for a job interview, you can do the job interview. And focus on form happens throughout all the pedagogic tasks. So I have a video here, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna just maybe go to the next screen and see if you have questions at the end. And then some of you discovered that my app also has IELTS, And this is the idea of developing a whole task-based course. You really need to develop the different types of tasks and activities, and you need to sequence them so that you can scaffold students' learning. With AI, my thinking is the same. You use AI so that you can scaffold their learning, but at some point they have to perform a task with people, or they need to do it independently. So on the Eduling app, I have a lot of courses, including IELTS speaking, IELTS writing, pronunciation. I actually talked about pronunciation before, and some teacher development courses as well. Okay. With technology, when you use AI or an application like Eduling, you can see that we have other affordances or other opportunities for learning, like speech to text, right? When you say something, you immediately see your transcript. Or when the AI, you can listen to the AI again because there's text to speech.